The overall length gauge is an essential tool on every reloading bench. The challenge has always been buying or making modified cases is a pain, especially if you're shooting wildcats. The RYT Gear Modified Case Jig is a simple tool that fixes that problem. It allows you to make modified cases in a matter of minutes at home. Let me show you how. There are no specialized tools needed. All you need is a cordless drill, a standard sizing die, a piece of once-fired brass, preferably from your chamber, and the modified case jig kit. The kit comes in a nice little waterproof hard case here. Inside you've got the drill jig body with a drill guide and a drill bit, and you've got the tapping assembly with a tap handle, a tap, and a tapping guide. All right, to create a modified case, all you're going to do is grab your jig body here and insert the drill guide. This is going to hold the drill bit while we're drilling out the case. Now, your sizing die is the important piece here, and this is going to hold your case while you're drilling it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the decapping assembly from that sizing die, so you just got the sizing geometry in there. Okay, I've got a piece of brass that I've deprimed here. It's important to pop that primer out first. This is a piece of once fired brass, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press this into the die with my fingers, and it's going to stop right there because that die needs to resize that brass. We're going to use that grip of that die to hold the piece of brass while we're tapping and drilling. So from there, what you're going to do is you're going to simply thread that die into the jig body, like so, with a piece of brass in there. And as you tighten that in, that piece of brass is going to seat up against here. And you're going to feel that starting to create some tension. You want to just get a little bit of finger-tight tension there. You don't want to fully resize that piece of brass. And if you've got a lock ring on there, you can lock that thing down. And that thing's about ready to start drilling. From there, I'm going to take my drill bit and my cordless, and we're going to simply carefully drill out the primer pocket of that piece of brass with that jig body holding everything straight in alignment and concentric. You'll see the shavings start coming out, just slow and steady pressure. The brass is really soft material, so it doesn't take a lot of time or work to really cut through there. That port there will start to gather the chips. You can stop occasionally and clear out the chips if you need to. Do watch those chips to make sure that you're not accidentally cutting yourself. They can be sharp if they catch your hand. Not a bad idea to use a glove. Yeah, there we go. You see we broke through there. We got the primer pocket cut through. A couple tips. Sometimes that drill bit will catch right as it breaks through the other side of the primer pocket. And so it's good to go slow. If it catches for some reason, back out and come in at a little bit faster and really slow feed rate. Sometimes you can knock off that burr there. If this starts to back out on you, or if your piece of brass starts to slip, you can simply come in here and retighten that die to where your brass is seated against there again, and then continue on with your drilling process. If you have any more issues with brass slippage, you want to make sure that you don't have too much sizing wax or lubricant on that piece of brass. It's kind of the opposite of sizing brass, where you want that brass to slip through the die. In this case, you want it to stick in the die. So a little bit of brake cleaner or some rubbing alcohol to clean it out there will help that sizing die grip that piece of brass while you're drilling and tapping. So anyway, we're drilled through here. We're going to pull that out. We're going to clear out the chips. Now what I'm going to do is take out our drill guide here. We're going to put back our drill guide and grab our tapping assembly. Then we're going to thread in our tapping guide with our tapping assembly. Simply like that. And we're ready to begin tapping. Now you can add a little bit of tapping fluid or even a little drop of gun oil. It's really not necessary. The brass is super soft anyway, but it can be handy if you've got something there. The tapping process is easy. I'm simply going to apply light and consistent pressure and begin engaging that tap into the thread or into the drilled hole in the case. If it starts binding on you, you can simply back it out maybe a half turn to clear those chips a little bit and then continue on. The nice thing is that brass is really soft and it taps very easily. Okay, so you can feel that resistance stopped. I'm through tapping. I'll back it out nice and carefully and kind of clear those threads. And once that tap is out, we will have our very own modified case made to fit our chamber with our once fired brass. Okay, so now I'll back out that tapping assembly. And all that's left is to remove that case from our die, and I'll show you that next. We're going to unthread the die from the case jig body right there, and we've got our tapped modified case. So there's a couple ways to remove this case from your die. My favorite way is if you're using a press that uses a standard RCBS style shell holder, you can simply pull that case out of the die with your press. I'll show you how to do this first. Okay, to remove that case, I'm going to thread my die with the case into my press here. Essentially, you're going to slide that shell holder onto the press ram and over the case head at the same time. Now with those engaged, I can lift that ram and pull the case right out of the die, and there I have my custom made modified case. Now it's not a bad idea to just take a simple deburr tool and just ream out the edges of that just a little bit. It's going to help that thread on nicely onto your overall length gauge. Here's my overall length gauge. Simply threads right on, and you are off to the races, finding the lands in your rifle and making the best loads you possibly can. That's all it takes to go from this to this. Check it out at RYTgear.com.